Hi, welcome back to the journey. In part 1, we saw how the entire Bible is just one story of one king and his kingdom. We looked at the foundation from Genesis to Revelation. So I continued with my Bible study of the kingdom, and a few days ago I was studying when I heard a voice in my head, and the voice asked, "But what makes up a kingdom?" I responded with, that is a very good question. So I looked deeper to see how an earthly kingdom looks like. There is a king, and the king has his territory. The kingdom has laws and citizens, and it has a structure that anyone can understand. Well, the kingdom of heaven has a structure too, but it is so much more glorious and slightly different. Today we are going to look at the citizens and the royalties of this kingdom. For this video, I will focus on the king and the truth of our role as heirs. Think about this. In ancient times, kingdoms were everywhere, and every kingdom had a king. Every kingdom had heirs and servants and subjects. Every kingdom had laws and value and a culture. And a king has a territory, a domain which belongs to him. And the people in the kingdom live under the king's authority. They follow his laws, they trust his leadership, and they represent this kingdom. They represent his kingdom everywhere they go. Now imagine someone moving into that kingdom. They cannot live however they want. I used to watch Nigerian folktale, especially the Igbo folktales, where a stranger comes to a kingdom and goes fishing at the sacred river or picks fruits from the sacred tree. When he's caught, he's taken to the king, and that is where he pleads for mercy. He pleads of being ignorant of the laws of the kingdom because he is new. But that doesn't save him, because ignorance is not an excuse. So judgment is passed, and he is either beheaded or stoned to death based on the tradition or laws of the kingdom. So you see, they can't live however they want. They must learn the kingdom ways. They must understand its culture and live by the values. That is what makes them true citizens. So a territory is a domain where the king exercises his authority. Everything in that domain belongs to the king. In the same way, the kingdom of heaven has a king. God is king of heaven. In Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 10, Jeremiah says that, "But the Lord is the only true God. He is the living God and the everlasting King." So as citizens of heaven, we live under the king's authority. We follow the kingdom's law. We trust his leadership, and we represent his kingdom wherever we go. When someone new comes into the family of God, they must live by the kingdom's values and laws, and they must learn the kingdom ways. They must understand the kingdom culture. So an earthly king has heirs by birth. He takes wife or wives, and they give birth to children who inherit the kingdom, his kingdom. But in God's kingdom, believers become heirs not by natural birth, but by new birth through the Spirit. In God's original plan, God created us as heirs in his image and likeness. Genesis chapter 1, 26 to 28, God said, "Let us make human beings in our image, to be like us." While I was reading this verse, I said to myself, wait a minute, who is God talking to? Who are the us and our? And I look at how a human being is created, spirit, soul, and body, and it hits me. God was speaking within himself. It is profound. God the Father, in Genesis 1:26, it says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image." And in John chapter 1 verse 1 to 3, the word Jesus was with God in the beginning and created all things. And Genesis chapter 1 verse 12, the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. In that moment, God was establishing his royal identity. So I'm not saying that humans are the Trinity. I'm only saying the pattern reflects God's nature. So Jesus reveals the way back after the fall. He says that unless a man is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. We are royalty by rebirth. I remember verses that calls us kings. 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9 says that, but we are God's chosen people. We are his royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. And Revelation 1:6 says, and he has made us to be a kingdom, priests to his God and Father. So believers are made king and priest over the earth. And then it clicked. So this is why God is called King of Kings. He is the king, and we, his children, are the kings he rules over. We are created to extend his dominion on earth. So we are kings created to extend his dominion, but we are not doing it alone. Next time we will look at Jesus as our brother and the role he plays in the royal family. I will see you in the next part of the journey. Stay blessed.